Ladies and gentlemen, Trey Smith got himself Payday paid, and good for him. I want to talk about the future implications for the Chiefs in regards to Trey Smith's contract, and then some whispers floating through the wind regarding another Chiefs player who may be in line for a good payday. Welcome to RGR Football. I'm your host today, Gary McKenzie, where we talk all things Kansas City Chiefs, and we're glad to have you here. So Trey Smith signed a 4-year deal, guaranteed $70 million in that contract. The cap hit going forward, next season in 2025, his cap hit will be $14.25 million. In 2026, the cap hit will be $24.25 million. And then in 2027, 2028, the cap hit will be $27.75 million. So, Trey Smith got himself a good payday. The Chiefs save a little money against the cap going into the 2025 season. They don't have to pay that huge franchise tag up front. And I feel like this is a contract where everyone won. Everyone's a winner in this contract, in my opinion. In years past, I have scratched my head at some of the decisions the Chiefs front office made in terms of handing out contracts to offensive linemen, and two of those contracts that I did not like in the past was, one, Joe Thuney's contract. Now, Joe Thuney was a great player for the Chiefs. They won Super Bowls with him. I have no complaints. I was wrong. The Chiefs made it work with Joe Thuney. Jawan Taylor is the other one that I did not like, and I was scratching my head when that contract was first signed. It seemed a little bit rich. And to this day, that contract for Jawan Taylor has been a huge burden on this Chiefs front office, trying to get the job done to put a competitive team on the field. Mahomes is obviously the great equalizer, so they've got past all that. But I did not like that Jawan Taylor contract from day one. Where do I land on the Trey Smith contract? I'm not upset about this contract. And the main reason I'm not upset about this contract is because we know what Trey Smith looks like in this Chiefs offense. We know he can be a productive and capable offensive lineman with this unit, with this offense. That saying, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. The Chiefs have the bird in their hand with Trey Smith. They paid him to keep him. I think this is a good move. There are no questions with Trey Smith. He passed all the health issues that he had coming out in the draft. He's got the clean bill of health. And this was a smart contract for Trey Smith too, because it also put him in a position to get another payday whenever he turns 28, 29. I think in the NFL, if you can get two big contracts, you will be better off than almost 95% of the players in the NFL, if not more. So Trey Smith got what he wanted in this deal. The Chiefs get what they want in this deal. And where does it put the Chiefs against the cap now? So in 2025, the Chiefs currently have $20 million in cap space. This is after signing all their draft picks, making a few moves in the offseason. They have $20 million in cap space, which is about the 20th or 21st most in the NFL. So there's 20 teams that have a better financial situation than the Chiefs in terms of how much money they have available to spend. But the Chiefs can do a lot with that $20 million. And another reason why this Trey Smith contract doesn't bother me as much is because of the trajectory the NFL is taking over the past 3 years, and the trajectory they're going to take most likely over the next 4 years. So the cap has gone up $70 million since 2022. So the past 3 years, it's gone up a little more than $20 million a year. In 2026, it's projected to go up another $21 million. The year after that, another $21 million. The year after that, they're projecting another $21 million. And then the year after that, you're getting into around 2029 era, where the NFL, their contracts with media companies are ready to be renegotiated. They have an out to get out of those contracts. And at that point in time, there are going to be several media companies who are vying for that single source to get exclusive rights to host the NFL. If a media company is able to do that, it's game over. They've essentially almost monopolized the market, and they can charge a pretty decent amount because people are going to pay it to watch their favorite team play. That's in 2029. So we're projected growth $20 million per year over the next few years. And then 2029 is going to happen. And then who knows how big the salary cap is going to get after that. So this move to keep Trey Smith over the long term, I think, is going to look very good 2 years from now, 3 years from now. The opposite was true of Jawan Taylor. His cap hit is over $30 million. I believe he is the second highest cap hit on the Chiefs roster currently. Or third. I can't remember. It might be a close between him and Chris Jones. Chris Jones did restructure. So I don't see this being a problem. I don't see this Trey Smith contract being a problem in Kansas City going down the road. But also going down the road, I've heard some reports from Twitter from a moderately reliable source, from a fellow named Ricky Scoops on Twitter. That's his handle. And you might think, okay, this is just some, guy coming from the peanut gallery, has no credit to his name. But no, this person on Twitter has predicted a lot of unusual activity in the NFL that was unexpected. He got the Jalen Ramsey trade right. He got the DK Metcalf deal right, along with many other things. He's not perfect, but a week ago, or a couple days ago, Ricky Scoop said that they have it on lockdown that George Karlaftis will sign a long-term deal with the Chiefs during training camp. So you hear something like that, and immediately alarm bells start going off in my head, thinking, okay, does this even make sense for George Karlaftis? We've talked a little bit about Trent McDuffie. It doesn't make sense for him to try to get a deal done this offseason. He wants to wait another year, maximize his payout. George Karlaftis' situation might be a little bit different. So if the Chiefs are truly working on a deal with the Greek Freak, there's a couple things that both sides are looking for. One thing that George Karlaftis would be looking for is that he has to be making more money than he would in 25, 26 over the next 2 years. That's simple math. He wants a raise. He might want a big pay raise now given to him via a signing bonus. So George Karlaftis might want a raise now. He definitely wants to make more than he's going to make in 25 and 26. And in 2026, he's going to be making $15.2 million. The Chiefs side, they just want to get future value for a position of need that will extend past 2026. So the Chiefs would be willing to pay a little more money for George Karlaftis in 2026 if they know they can get him at a premium later on. Remember, George Karlaftis is only 23 years old. He finished last season at 23 years old. He's played a full season in the NFL at 21 years old, 22 years old, and 23 years old. And we talked about how good he was when he was 21 years old. I think there are only a handful of edge rushers who had more sacks than him that were also as young as he was. The Chiefs trying to get a deal done with George Karlaftis would make a lot of sense for the team looking forward because he is so young. He still has a chance to, maybe have a kid, get his dad's strength, get stronger. I know I'm a lot stronger now, in my late 30s than I was in my early 20s. So he could improve a lot of things physically, mentally. And the Chiefs would be smart to get ahead of the curve if he were to potentially blow up. And I would wager that George Karlaftis' best football is ahead of him and not behind him. And I am very confident in that. So where does George Karlaftis rank in terms of other pass rushers in the NFL. PFF had him as the number 38 edge rusher. If you look down at the contracts in the NFL, the 38th valued edge rusher is at about $8 million per year. George Karlaftis is not going to take that. He's not going to take $8 million a year because that's less than the average he's making over the next 2 seasons. He's also not going to take that because I think that would be a slap in the face for his potential value. He's not going to accept something like that. But he's definitely not going to get paid like one of the top guys. He's not going to get Myles Garrett money. He's not going to get Danielle Hunter money. He's not going to get Max Crosby money, Nick Bosa money. He's not going to be anywhere near that because he doesn't have the production. So what does a reasonable George Karlaftis contract look like that both gives him the pay raise now and also honors the potential value that he has currently in the market? And I think that contract would be somewhere in the low $20 million per year. Average contract per year. Average value per year. If the Chiefs are able to get a deal done with George Karlaftis that extends into, say, 2029 at about $23 million per year, average value, I think that's a win-win for both sides. If George Karlaftis wants more than that, then the Chiefs would be wise to explore trading him. Now, I've been a little off with my contract negotiations. It's always a little bit more expensive, so I say 23, but really, I mean, it could be closer to 25, where the Chiefs want to be with George Karlaftis. But now's your chance in the comments to tell me whether or not you think I'm crazy or whether you think Ricky Scoops is crazy. Does it make any sense at all for George Karlaftis this training camp to sign a long-term deal with the Chiefs? I think it does. I think there might be some truth to this. And then the Chiefs can focus solely next season on getting Trent McDuffie locked down for long-term. And keep in mind, this cap number for the NFL is going to keep going up. And so there's money to spend for these players, and it will be there. And the Chiefs are also going to free up some cap space next year because I think that there's a very strong chance, almost a 100% chance, that Juwan Taylor is not on the Chiefs in 2026. This will be the last year. So looking at these deals the Chiefs have made, they've signed Trey Smith to a long-term deal. They're looking potentially at George Karlaftis. What does the future core of this Chiefs roster look like beyond 2025? So let's say 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028. What does the core build of this Chiefs team look like? And I always go back to Andy Reid whenever I think about this. Andy Reid has mentioned many times what he needs to have a successful team. He says, give me a quarterback, give me 2 tackles, 2 pass rushers, a guy that can play corner very well, and 1 pass catcher. He says, you give me those players, I'm going to win you 10 games every year. The Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes locked in. He's not going anywhere. They've got Chris Jones. I think he's going to be around and still be productive for the next few years. After that, it gets a little curious. They're working on potentially locking down George Karlaftis. They drafted a first-round pick to figure out and solve their left tackle position. Their right tackle is up in the air. Their pass catcher has been Travis Kelce, but that doesn't look to be the case anymore. He's aging. He's not going to be that primary guy that we saw for the past decade. I think that's just the reality of the situation. So that means a player like Rashee Rice might fill in that role for the Chiefs. So the future, the core of the Chiefs as they have identified right now, Mahomes, Chris Jones, And then we'll see if this deal with George Karlaftis goes through. We'll see what they do with Rashee Rice when the time comes. And we'll see what they do with Trey McDuffie when the time comes. And then they're praying that the left tackle position pans out. And then right tackle, that's been a problem for the past several years, and they're still trying to sort it out. So right now, the future core for this team, I think there's a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of different directions they can go, and right now they have the equalizer in Mahomes, and that gives them a little more wiggle room to figure out what the future core of this team is going to be. But the days of Travis Kelce and Chris Jones being the right and left-hand man for Patrick Mahomes are getting closer to being over, and the Chiefs need to have a plan going forward in the future of who they are going to replace those players with, and they need to be developed in-house, in my opinion. But that's it for this video. The Chiefs cap space is looking pretty good. I think that the Trey Smith deal was a good one. I think it makes a lot of sense for both George Karlaftis and the Chiefs to sign an extension in training camp. We'll see if that happens. And then all in all, I'm excited for the dang offseason to be over with. As a content creator for the Chiefs, it is so hard to think of content heading in to the offseason and to last you for 3 months of the offseason. You get the draft here and there, OTAs, all that good stuff, but man, I am ready for some football. And I was working on this video, and I had a nice Chiefs neon light I was going to put up in the corner, and I broke it. I was trying to hang it, and I broke it. And at that point in time, I really wanted this offseason to be over with. I am ready for some football. We are getting closer to training camp. But this is Gary signing out. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll catch you next week. Take care.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more, and subscribe to RGR Football.